Daniel Grayson stared at the blinking cursor on his laptop screen. It mocked him. The white page was empty, save for the title he typed weeks ago, the idea that could change everything. He leaned back in his creaky chair, eyes drifting to the vision. Board tacked to the wall magazine, cutouts of tropical beaches, a Tesla Model X, a smiling couple holding hands, and a house nestled on a green hillside. He sighed. None of it felt real anymore. He had spent months talking about starting his own business, a revolutionary productivity app that had taken root in his mind. A year ago during the pandemic, friends said it sounded genius. Coworkers nodded with polite enthusiasm. He even drafted a business plan, built half a prototype, and watched dozens of startup podcasts. But the app was still unfinished. Daniel had become an expert in starting things and a master of not finishing them. His life was a trail of abandoned projects, from guitar lessons to novel writing. The fear of failure had evolved into a more sinister enemy, fear of starting. He knew what people said behind his back. All talk. Mr. Potential. That night, Daniel closed his laptop, muttered, "I'll start tomorrow," and crawled into bed. The next morning, Daniel got a message from his old friend, Marcus. "Marcus, hey man, I'm in town for a few days. Coffee later." Marcus had quit his job 2 years ago to start a digital marketing agency. Daniel remembered thinking he'd fall flat. Instead, Marcus now traveled the world, ran a team of 20, and recently bought his dream home in Bali. An hour later, they met at a corner cafe. "So," Marcus said after they caught up, "how's the app coming?" Daniel hesitated, still refining it. Planning, making sure I do it right." Marcus smiled in a way that wasn't judgmental, just tired. "Still planning, huh? I just want it to be perfect," Daniel replied, suddenly defensive. Marcus leaned forward. "Perfection is the enemy of progress. Man, you just have to start. Even if it's ugly, even if it sucks at first. Start, then improve." Daniel chuckled, embarrassed. "Easier said than done." "Of course it is," Marcus said, "but that's how it works. Want to know the difference between you and me?" Daniel nodded. I started. Back home, Daniel sat with those words. "I started." He opened his laptop. The blank screen still greeted him like an old rival. He set a timer for 10 minutes. "Just write something," he whispered. He wrote a rough paragraph, then another. The words weren't perfect, but they were there. Something shifted inside him, not a bolt of lightning, but a click, like a key finally turning. Over the next week, Daniel made a pact with himself. 1 hour a day, no matter what. No social media, no endless research, just work. 7 days in, he had a skeleton version of his app. It was buggy, it crashed, but it existed. He began to wake up earlier. Caffeine replaced his doubts. He joined a local startup meetup, shared his idea, and got feedback. One guy connected him to a freelance designer. Another introduced him to a potential investor. Momentum breeds momentum. He started. 3 months later, Daniel hit the wall again. The investor passed. His developer ghosted him. A beta test revealed dozens of flaws. Daniel stared at the metrics dashboard. 0 active users. "I knew it," he thought. This was stupid. He didn't open his laptop for 3 days. He binged Netflix, ate junk food, scrolled Instagram, comparing his life to influencers with six-packs and six-figure salaries. One night, while lying on the couch, he got a call. "Hey Daniel," said a familiar voice. It was Anna, one of the startup meetup members. "Heard about your app. I tried it last week. It has potential. I'd love to help. Maybe advise you a bit." "Why?" he asked. She laughed. "Because I was you once. I quit my first startup after one setback. Worst mistake of my life." "You didn't quit yet. That's rare." Anna came on board as an advisor. She helped him refine the user flow, redesign the interface, and pitch with confidence. They ran a beta with 50 users. Feedback poured in, some harsh, some glowing. Daniel took notes, fixed bugs, improved the onboarding process. A small blog reviewed the app. Then a tech YouTuber featured it in a productivity tools video. User count jumped to 3,000 in 2 weeks. One day, Daniel opened his dashboard and saw something he never had before. Congratulations, you have reached 10,000 active users. He laughed, then cried. A year later, Daniel stood on a TEDx stage. The screen behind him showed a timeline from blank page to 50,000 users. He shared his journey, the doubt, the fear, the failures, but he kept returning to one phrase: just start. He ended with a story. When I was 5, I stood at the edge of a diving board, terrified. My dad stood below, arms wide. I was frozen. He just said, jump, I'll catch you. And I did. That's life. You'll never feel ready. You'll never be sure. But you don't need to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. Just start. Applause thundered across the auditorium. Emails began pouring in from people around the world. Aspiring founders, writers, students, artists, people stuck at the edge of their own diving boards. One message read, I've been scared to apply for art school for years. After watching your talk, I finally sent in my application. Thank you. Another said, your story gave me the courage to leave an abusive job and start over. Daniel realized his story wasn't just about an app. It was about possibility, action, momentum. He launched a YouTube channel, a podcast, a book, each one imperfect. Each one started before he felt ready. Years passed. Daniel's app crossed 1 million users. He sold it to a larger tech company, not for billions, but enough to buy that hillside home, travel the world, and invest in other dreamers. In every interview, people asked him, what's the one thing you'd tell your younger self? His answer never changed. Start, even if you don't know how, even if you fail, especially if you're scared. One afternoon, Daniel sat in another cafe. A young man sat across from him, nervous, fidgeting, clearly passionate. He talked about a new AI-powered education platform he wanted to build. But I'm still researching, the man said, still figuring it out. Daniel smiled. I get it, he said. Let me tell you a story. And he did, about the blank page, the blinking cursor, the first beta, the failed investor pitch. By the end, the young man's eyes shone. I think I'm going to start tonight, he said. Daniel nodded. Good, he said. That's where everything begins. If you're reading this, you probably have a dream, a project, an idea. Maybe it's been sitting in a notebook for years. Maybe it haunts you at night. Maybe you've told yourself you're not ready. Here's the truth. You'll never feel ready. But readiness is a myth. Action is real. Take the first step. Write the first sentence. Record the first video. Send the first email. Launch the first version. Because once you start, the world begins to move with you. Doors open. People appear. The path clears. But only for those who walk. So, don't wait for perfect. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for clarity. Just start.